Weeks ago, I did a fairly lengthy monologue that I had been working on for some time about the death of the monoculture and how pop culture and, by extension, celebrity basically no longer exists. Another, there are a million celebrities with millions of followers, and almost none of them have any influence on the culture at all. There are now so many streaming services and social media platforms that it's entirely possible for a talented actor or singer to become very successful while also remaining unknown to the vast majority of the general public. There's no modern equivalent to the craze that surrounded shows like Seinfeld or Friends or the ubiquity of movies like Titanic, and there probably never will be again. Now, the death of the monoculture is generally a bad thing in my view, as I've already outlined, but there is at least one positive aspect of it. Celebrities truly have no political influence anymore. Now, in the past, that was not the case. The Rat Pack and Sinatra helped put JFK in the White House. One study from the University of Maryland supposedly found that Oprah's endorsement all by itself resulted in 1 million votes for Barack Obama in the primaries back in 2008. People got their copies of Oprah magazine, saw the endorsement, and they went out to vote. Now, of course, nobody reads Oprah magazine anymore because it doesn't exist, nor does anyone read any magazines of any kind. There are simply too many ways to access information and too many celebrities offering their takes for any particular person's opinion to really matter, no matter how rich or powerful that person might be. So this has been true for some time, but celebrities have pretended not to realize it, probably because they want to keep selling their endorsements to dysfunctional Democrat Party campaigns. After all, why admit that your endorsement is worthless when you can sell it to Kamala Harris for $1 million? But there is finally at least one Hollywood celebrity who's ready to admit what we've all known for a long time, which is that celebrity endorsements are completely pointless and meaningless, and we'd all be better off if these people would stop talking about politics entirely. And surprisingly enough, this realization comes to us from the actress Jennifer Lawrence, who until relatively recently has been one of the most hysterical leftists in Hollywood. Here's what she and her co-stars were saying just 10 years ago, for example.
Talk about laying down the law. Yep, Jennifer Lawrence, who knows a thing or two about dystopian societies, said that if Donald Trump becomes the president, it'll be the end of the world. That's right, the 25-year-old didn't hold anything back in a recent interview discussing the release of The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2. But American-born Josh Hutcherson also climbed on the anti-Trump ladder, saying he believes the campaign is a publicity stunt and can't be real.
Well, that's the kind of insightful political analysis that you can only get from Hollywood. The world will end if Donald Trump wins, but of course he won't win because his campaign isn't actually real. Jennifer Lawrence was constantly repeating this kind of leftist dribble for years on end. She also stated in response to Trump's first election win that, quote, "This country was founded on immigration, and today the only people that feel safe that their rights are recognized and respected are white men." And then she added, quote, "If you're an immigrant, if you're a person of color, if you're LGBTQ+, if you're a woman, don't be afraid, be loud." So you get the idea. She was a talking points machine. But credit where it's due, Jennifer Lawrence finally appears to be tired of this whole act. Unlike every other leftist celebrity and unlike all the fake climate change scientists, Jennifer Lawrence is apparently capable of looking back on her past statements and realizing, at the very least, how utterly dumb and pointless they were. So this is from a recent interview with the New York Times. Listen.
You have been politically outspoken in the past. Mm-hmm. In the first Trump administration, you had a lot to say. I'm curious how you feel about talking out now.
I don't really know if I should. I think the first Trump administration was so wild, and just how can we let this stand? I felt like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But as we learned, election after election, celebrities do not make a difference whatsoever on who people vote for. And so then what am I doing? I'm just sharing my opinion on something that's going to just add fuel to a fire that's ripping the country apart. I mean, we are so divided.
So she isn't willing to admit that she was wrong, which obviously requires some degree of self-awareness and integrity. She's not willing to reflect on why she stated that the world was going to end if Donald Trump won, or why she said that only white men are capable of feeling safe in America. Lawrence does say that she was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, which sounds like an admission that she was acting insane and unreasonable. But beyond that, there's no reflection as to why she came to believe any of these talking points or why she repeated them. But at the same time, from a practical perspective, she is willing to acknowledge the futility of everything that she was doing, namely talking about politics. So now she's giving that up. And in part, she says that she's motivated by a desire to stop alienating half of her potential audience. Watch.
I think I'm in a complicated recalibration because I'm also an artist. And with this temperature and the way that things can turn out, I don't want to start turning people off to films and to art that could change consciousness or change the world because they don't like my political opinions. I want to protect my craft so that you can still get lost in what I'm doing, what I'm showing. And if I can't say something that's going to speak to some kind of peace or lowering the temperature or some sort of solution. I just don't want, I don't want to be a part of the problem. I don't want to make the problem worse.
Well, YouTube invented the playback speed option for interviews like this one, where they're talking at half speed. You have to double the playback speed on this one if you want it to sound remotely like a normal conversation. That's the only way I was able to get through that part of this interview that I watched, which was only about 3 minutes before I had to turn it off. But I watched enough of this interview to know that Jennifer Lawrence isn't being honest here. She's not suddenly interested in attracting a conservative audience. And even if she were interested in that, she knows that none of her political opinions matter one way or another when it comes to attracting a conservative audience to her projects. Conservatives understand, and we've understood for a long time, that pretty much everybody in Hollywood hates us. That's built in. We're capable of ignoring that fact when we watch movies and television shows, because unlike leftists, we don't spend every waking hour dreaming of ways to punish people who disagree with us. We're capable of watching a Jennifer Lawrence movie, as long as they're good, which one or two of them are, regardless of what dumb opinions she happens to hold. We've never took her opinion seriously to begin with. And she's flattering herself if she thinks otherwise. But as the interview went on, for some reason, she kept offering more and more justifications for why she isn't political anymore. And somehow each justification made even less sense than the last one. Watch.
It feels, the second term feels different, because it's like, we all knew he said what he was going to do. We knew what he did for 4 years. He was very clear. And that's what we chose. Again, I think there's something that just feels different about the second term.
Yes, the second Trump term is different from the first term because this time around, people knew what Trump was going to do before they voted for him. And that's like totally a major difference. The first time around, people were just voting for Trump as a joke, I guess. They had no idea what his platform was. Trump voters, according to Jennifer Lawrence, weren't actually interested in bringing back manufacturing jobs or lowering taxes or ending foreign wars or putting an end to Hillary Clinton's criminal enterprise or closing the border, deporting illegal aliens, or any of that. They just voted for Trump because they like the sound of his name, I guess. And then, to their shock and horror, Trump started doing the exact same things that he said he was going to do. It's funny how that works. Now, at this point, you're probably starting to suspect that the reason she talks so slowly is that her brain is like one of those old hard drives that sputters very loudly when you turn the computer on. We're not dealing with the fastest horse in the race, to put it mildly, to mix metaphors. She doesn't seem capable of understanding that we all knew what Trump was going to do back in 2016. That's why 63 million people voted for him. Now, honestly, I don't expect Jennifer Lawrence to ever come to any of those realizations, nor do I care if she does. The important thing is that she recognizes, for one reason or another, that celebrities should stop sharing their opinions about any topic of significance whatsoever. Now that she's conceded defeat on this point, there's hope that many other vapid celebrities will soon follow. There's hope that we can go 24 hours without hearing about a random actor's opinion about open borders or, a non-binary singer's hot take on the Second Amendment or whatever. 10 years ago, Jennifer Lawrence confidently predicted that the world would end if Trump won. And we can safely say a decade later that, at least the world still exists, as far as I can tell. But the monoculture is indeed dead and buried. And while I used to think that was an unequivocally negative